Okay, so there's no point of order. Point of privilege.
Could be.
Point of privilege. Point of privilege. There's no point of privilege. Point of clarity. Point of clarity. Point of clarity. Order. Point of clarity. Order. Order. Point of clarity. Let me sit down. The executive judgment. The executive judgment is not a judgment. It's not order. Sit down. I'm warning you for the second time. I was not directing you to speak up. There's no judgment. And you sit down. Go. The Honorable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to present my second reading speech on the Constitution of Zimbabwe Amendment number 3 bill. Mr. Speaker, this is a defining moment in our constitutional evolution. A journey rooted in the liberation struggle fought and won by the heroic sons and daughters of the soil, shaped by the aspirations of our people and given formal expression in the Constitution we adopted by and for ourselves as Zimbabwe in 2030. Constitutions, Mr. Speaker, by their very nature, are not monuments cast permanently in stone. They are living instruments for good governance, designed to respond to changing realities, to emerging challenges, and to deliver all the needs aspirations of society. The true strength of a constitutional democracy lies not in rigid permanence, but in its capacity for lawfully reasoned and progressive adaptation. Mr. Speaker, this view is therefore not an abandonment of our constitutional order in any way, shape or form, but a continuation of it. It is the product of practical experience, of institutional reflection, and of the honest recognition that after more than a decade of implementation, certain provisions of the 2013 Constitution require refinement to enhance their functionality, their coherence, and their service to national progress. Mr. Speaker, I ask this Honorable House to weigh the bill in that spirit. The Republic, confident enough to write its own founding law, must be mature enough to improve it. What I bring before you is not a leap into an unknown, but a measured step, informed by the realities of constitutional governance, by lessons drawn from our history and comparative institutions, and by our shared determination that the supreme law of our land should remain an instrument of development rather than a takeover. Let me begin with the standard first. Not with what the bill does, but with what it does not do. Because a great deal of what has been said about it, beyond the walls of this chamber, bears little resemblance to the text that lies before honorable members. Mr. Speaker, what the bill does not do. Mr. Speaker, there have been many claims about this bill, circulated in the press and in the public square, especially on social media platforms, which are simply not true. Before I comment a thing close to this honorable house, I want to place those claims beside the text and answer the claim. Let me state clearly and without qualification. I think this view simply does not First, Mr. Speaker, it does not give the President a term extension for a third term. Second, it does not take away the right to vote, which is enshrined in the time-honored principle of the Universal Suffrage. Then, concern itself with succession in any political party. It does not postpone the nation's elections to some distant or unknown year. Last, it does not concentrate power or the running of elections in the hands of the President. None of these things is true of the bill before this honorable House. I will tell Mr. Speaker each of them in his place, and I will show clause by clause why each charge fails against the text. But I wanted honorable members of the country who may be following our proceedings to hear at the outset and in plain terms what this bill does not do. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to what this bill does. What then does this bill do? Mr. Speaker said the bill contains 22 clauses. Effectively, I did not title 21. This does not mean it does 21 things, because when all is said and done, it actually seeks to do two main things around which it aligns the constitutional text. First, Mr. Speaker, the bill reforms the manner in which we choose and hold our highest office, so that the President is elected by the people through their parliament, whichever the people themselves. Second, the bill reforms the length of our national electoral cycle, extending the term of office of the President and the lifespan of Parliament from 5 years to 7, so that the people's government has the time to plan, to lead, and to be judged on what it is. Let me develop each of these, Mr. Speaker, for they are not slogans. They are reforms with important reasons behind them. The first reform speaks to the temperature of our politics. For more than 3 decades, the direct national election contest of the presidency has been the single most divisive event in our public life. The moment at which the nation divides against itself. By drawing the election of the president into this parliament, the bill ties the highest office to the confidence of the people's elected representatives, and replaces a winner-takes-all electoral context with a model that fosters individual's consensus, coalition unity, and the ability to command broad support across the honorable House in the national elections. The President, so chosen, is accountable not once in an election after several years, but continuously within an electoral cycle through the constitutional power. The second reform, Mr. Speaker, speaks to the work of the government. Under a 5-year electoral cycle, such as the one we currently have, the first year is consumed by transition, forming a government, settling its administration, and too often mitigating the election that just concluded. By the 4th year, attention turns to the next contest. By the 5th, the nation is immense in pandemic. The window left for the actual business of governance for development is narrow. A time when, for example, the power station, the reform of the school or health system, these are works of long horizons. Roads are not built in cycles of polarization allows government to spend less of its strength contesting power in a perennial survival mode and more of governing well and delivering good services to the people. These, Mr. Speaker, are the two reports. I now turn to why they are necessary. Mr. Speaker said, no parliament should amend its inflow of land without first being satisfied that there is a real and serious mischief to be cured. So let me put the mischief squarely before honorable members. It is not abstract. It is the lived experience of this nation across more than 3 decades, and it can be traced to a single root, the way we have chosen our president, and the short, dysfunctional, and restless electoral cycle in which we have done so. Since the introduction of direct presidential elections in 1990, our public life has been gripped by 5 connected afflictions. 5 afflictions that have stood between this country and development and progress which people deserve. They are not separate problems. They feed one another. And each electoral cycle is meant than worse. The first, Mr. Speaker, is the perennially disputed presidential election. Every contest for the president this nation has held since the turn of the century, 2000, 2002, 2008, 2018, 2018, and again in 2023, has been marked by relentless allegations of violence, of beating, of opacity, eroding public trust, and the legitimacy of the result. This is not my characterization alone, Mr. Speaker. It is documented notably in the observer reports of the AU, of the SADC reports, and of the Commonwealth, which have linked this dispute to economic sanctions against our country and to the plight of the president. By some estimates, as much as USD 50 billion of investment opportunities lost over these years, and the scholarship agrees. Cheeseman and Goswell, writing in the Journal of Modern African Studies, find that electoral disputes of this kind foster chronic instability. Second affliction, Mr. Speaker said, is policy paralysis, work of perpetual campaign. Our short 5 attempts tend to track those in office in a continuous election mode, derailing and delaying the long programs that developing nations such as ours critical defense support. Our own national development strategy 182, our own vision 2030. This is not campaigning in the ordinary sense. This is a perpetual posture of destructive contest that crowds the work of government out. The Commonwealth Secretariat, Mr. Speaker, reporting in 2002 and SADC reporting in 2018, both identified post-election polarization as a major bottleneck in development. A trade estimated for some analysis at 30 to 40 billion United States dollars in foreign productivity, with the African Development Bank putting the cost of our electoral cycles at 2 to 3% of GDP in every year they consume. The third affliction, the Speaker said, is the grip of corruption, amplified by instability. Where political survival is a perpetual question, Mr. Speaker said, accountability weakens, and the conditions in which graft flourishes are created and recreated with every electoral side. Electoral patronage hit. Transparency International estimated in 2023 that corruption costs this country between $1 and $2 billion United States dollars in every year that passes. And the Zimbabwe Election Support Network has documented the predictability spikes in irregular tenders that accompany an election. Some $150 million United States dollars went in 2023 alone. Instability and corruption are not separate diseases, Mr. Speaker said. The one feeds the other. The fourth affliction is bureaucratic inefficiency and the politicization of the public service. A public service that should be neutral, professional, and continuous is in a state held in permanent contest, disrupted by pages and by favoritism, a pattern noted in Commonwealth, AU and SADC reporting across 2005 and 2013. The election resource center has estimated the resulting productivity losses at some $600 million United States dollars a year, and the historian Brian Raptopoulos has linked this politicization to inefficiencies of real and lasting work. The citizen who simply needs a service from the state is the one who pays. And last but not least, Mr. Speaker said, the fifth affliction is societal polarization. Each disputed election, each season of the electoral conflict drives the nation further apart, fueling immigration and unrest. The work of Noma Krieger in the African Studies Review and the reporting of the AU and SADC stressed the cost of this division in economic terms and in human capital. Our country has lost to immigration, which the International Organization of Migration has counted in the billions. The society asked every few years to divide itself in a bitter national contest does not easily yield in the short interval before the next election. Mr. Speaker said, these five afflictions, perennially disputed presidential elections, policy paralysis, instability fueled corruption, a politicized bureaucracy, and a polarized society took root with the introduction of direct presidential elections in 1990. And their toxicity intensified sharply from 2000 onwards. They are not separate problems. They are structural and interconnected, each feeding the others, and all rooted in the same electoral toxicity. Their cumulative cost to this nation has been estimated conservatively at between 150 to 200 billion United States dollars in lost output, productivity, and human capital. Whatever the precise figure, Mr. Speaker, the direction is not in doubt. Enemies, our liberation was forced to defeat the hunger, the poverty, the disease, and the ignorance that still shadow too many of our communities cannot be driven back by a government held in a 5-year window of which the better part is spent defending itself and preparing for the next election that promises more conflict. That is the mischief we are trying to deal with, Mr. Speaker. It is real, it is documented, and it is no longer one this nation can afford to carry. The question this bill answers is, what kind of penalty does such a mischief demand? Speaker said, when the problem is structural, the remedy must be structural too. This is the point on which I most wish to be understood, because it is the point most often missed. When critics are told that this country has suffered from the affliction of perennially disputed elections, from corruption, from instability and division, some invariably reply that the answer is simply for good people to replace the bad people in good office. That the government should employ honest officials, that leaders should behave with greater patience, that all of us should become better angels. That is not the answer, Mr. Speaker. Five afflictions that have persisted across 3 decades extend in presidential elections, deepening in this electoral cycle, are not the product of bad people who just need to be replaced by good ones. They are the product of the structural malaise, of the incentives, the pressures, and the conflicts that our constitutional arrangements themselves created and bred. To keep doing the same thing, election after election, while hoping for a different result, is not statesmanship. It is the very definition of problem. A structural problem, Mr. Speaker, is cured by changing the structure that produces it, by reshaping the arrangements within which those who hold power must act. That is what this bill does. It does not ask anyone to become an agent. It changes the structural design so that the ordinary conduct of office produces stability rather than conflict, construction rather than perpetual contest. The 2 major reforms at the heart of this bill, the manner of electing the president and the length of the national electoral cycle, are structural responses to structural ills that have produced the structural afflictions that have bedeviled our country.
Order. Honorable Minister Professor Martin, please take a seat there at the back.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And these reforms in the bill are not experiments, Mr. Speaker. They are informed by our experience of 7 presidential elections since 1990. Each more contested than the previous, then by the tested constitutional practice of the most stable democracies in our neighborhood and across the world. It is those 2 reforms and the clauses that give an effect to which I now want to turn, Mr. Speaker. I go to the core amendment. Mr. Speaker said, these 4, I will take now to clause 3, 4, 9, and 10. Mr. Speaker, these 4 clauses are the heart of the bill. They should be read together because they are harmonious and mutually supportive. Each reinforcing the others, each doing a part of the same. Those 3 reforms the manner in which we choose our highest office. Clauses 4, 9, and 10 reform the length of the national electoral cycle within which that office is held and align the calendar of our elections accordingly. Together, Mr. Speaker, they constitute a single, coherent, structural response to the 5 persistent and pernicious afflictions this country has carried since 1990. Clause 3 deals with election method and provides that the president shall be elected by Parliament in joint sitting of the Senate and National Assembly by a clear majority of members, with a runoff where no majority is reached and under the supervision of SEC. The people's voice, Mr. Speaker, is not removed by this reform. It travels by a different and steady approach. The people elect parliament. Parliament in turn elects the president and holds the president to account, not once every several years, but continuously through the confidence of parliament. The executive authority continues to derive from the people, which is the very principle Section 88 of our Constitution lays down. Only the transmission mechanism changes. For too long, Mr. Speaker, our presidential elections have been framed as zero-sum contest in which victory by one side means total exclusion of the other. Such a culture breeds division, mistrust, and policy paralysis. A parliamentary mechanism changes those incentives from the ground up. It encourages sensibility, coalition making, and constructive engagement across political lines. It rewards leadership that can command broad-based support rather than leadership grounded solely in electoral mobilization. A president who must continuously hold the confidence of parliament cannot govern against it. That is accountability made permanent, not periodic. The doctrine of responsible government that underlies every mature constitutional democracy. This is the settled practice of our nearest neighbors, where South Africa elects its president from parliament, and Botswana's president is the leader of the party commanding the parliamentary majority. Both are arguably the most stable, best governed democracies on our continent. And let me correct a misconception, Mr. Speaker, being deployed against this clause. The direct election of our president is not a founding feature of our constitutional settlement. Zimbabwe was governed from independence through a parliamentary model. Direct presidential election was introduced only in 1987 through Constitutional Amendment number 7 in the context of the Unity Accord and the then anticipated one-party state. Those defending direct election is an axiomatic democratic principle are defending an arrangement younger, Mr. Speaker, than our independence, adopted for a purpose this House would not today because this House direct election because of the one part, then you can go for the one direct presidential election for the purpose that Mr. Speaker, the current system of direct election harbors three profound risks and vulnerabilities that are entirely eliminated when Parliament assumes the sole responsibility of choosing nations. Firstly, as we witnessed during the 2023 harmonized general elections, the high-profile regional, continental, or international observer mission can deploy as few as 68 observers to cover a mere 172 polling stations out of more than 12,374 nationwide. From this extremely narrow segment, such a mission can issue a swiftly hostile and damaging verdict on the freeness and fairness unpredictability of the entire electoral cycle. This glaring vulnerability has repeatedly shown the seeds of electoral disputes that continue to haunt our democracy. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, direct elections opens the door for an independent candidate, even one potentially sponsored by the country's adversaries, who commands no seats whatsoever in this House, to get elected. Such an outcome would fundamentally destabilize the governance of the Republic and fracture the vital link between the executive and the legislature. The method by which we select our president must never permit so great a possibility. Third, Mr. Speaker, sir, the present arrangement allow for 4 provinces to decide the president by themselves through sheer numerical weight. I want to repeat this, Mr. President. The present arrangement allows only 4 provinces to decide the president by themselves through sheer numerical weight. Based on the 2023 voters roll, Aranda, Manikale, Mashonaland, and Numidians together accounted for 3,540,000 voters of the country's 6,600,000 registered voters, more than half the national voters. In a direct popular vote, of course, the possible runoff in no candidate gets 50+1. It is entirely possible for a candidate to secure outright victory with overwhelming majorities in just these 4 provinces, while losing the other 6 entirely, or even if larger parts of the Republic cast no votes at all. So these 4 provinces, everyone else does not vote, they can actually ensure that that happens. This structural flaw leaving vast regions of our nation politically marginalized and should concern every fair-minded citizen committed to true national cohesion and unity. By contrast, Mr. Speaker, election through Parliament draws every province, every region, and every voice into the choice, leaving no one and no place behind. It ensures balanced representation, strengthens institutional legitimacy, and safeguards our democracy against this serious threat. On the law, Mr. Speaker, the bill reforms the method of election by amending Section 92, which sits in Chapter 5. It is not in Chapter 4, and it does not amend Chapter 4, the Declaration of Rights, nor Section 328 itself, Mr. Speaker. The Constitutional Court, in the full judgment of 2021, affirmed that the referendum requirement in Section 328 is triggered by the constitutional text which is amended, not by the consequences said to flow from it. On that footing, Mr. Speaker, this reform proceeds by 2/3 majority of this House. I now turn to clause 4, 9, and 10, the template of the electoral cycle. Mr. Speaker said, these 3 clauses must be taken together, for they are one reform expressed 3 times. Clause 4 amends Section 95, subsection 2 of the Constitution to extend the presidential term length, that is the electoral cycle, from 5 to 7 years. Clause 9 does the same for Parliament by amending Section 143 subsection 1, so that the two branches rise and fall together rather than drifting out of alignment. Clause 10 aligns the 7-year election calendar. Their coherence is the point. A 7-year president alongside a 7-year parliament on the same electoral cycle, planning and delivering together. Here, Mr. Speaker said, I must draw the distinction on which this entire debate turns. And I will draw it as plainly, Mr. Speaker, as I can. Because much of the criticism of this bill rests on a confusion between two things that sound alike but are wholly different. The length of the term and the limit on text. Mr. Speaker said, permit me to share an image, for it has helped me and it may help honorable members. Mr. Speaker, picture a great presidential runway, a permanent, purpose-built platform at the very heart of our constitutional body. That runway is the office of the president himself, the critical infrastructure from which the nation is saved and led. Section 95, subsection 2B is its architect and guardian. It defines the runway length, how long each authorized use may last, from the swearing in to the next election. It does not choose or restrain any particular operator. It simply ensures that the runway exists as a disciplined, open, permanent public structure belonging to the people of Zimbabwe. Provided at predictable intervals so that no operator, however popular, can ever claim permanent rights over. Now, Mr. Speaker, consider the airline that operates on the runway. That airline is the office of the individual president. Section 91, subsection 2 speaks to the airline alone, and it issues a firm and personal command. The airline may hold an operating contract, one term, renewable once, and once only. If the people through Parliament chose to reappoint two contracts in a lifetime, whether served consecutively or years apart, and never a third under any circumstance. Here is the point, Mr. Speaker. Lengthening the runway does not give an airline an extra contract. Extending the term changes only the length of the contract. It does not change the amount of contract. Section 95, subsection 2, governs the term length. Section 91, subsection 2, governs the airline, the term limit. The bill lengthens the runway. It does not touch the limit on the airline. The two terms exactly where it has always stood. This bill, Mr. Speaker, does not amend section 91, subsection 2 by the same word. Mr. Speaker said, I will not pass over the question I know is in the minds of some honorable members. Does longer term reach the office as it stands today, or only in the future?
Please sit down, please. Accept the honorable member of the raised for the program.
Honorable Speaker, we just wanted to find out, we have a sitting arrangement in the House where we feel very uncomfortable with the right side.
Honorable members, there is still room to decide. If you feel uncomfortable with the overflow, you can come and sit beside. Just hold on, the honorable member still moving. Who has spoken?
Honorable Speaker, point of order.
Who has spoken?
Okay, I need guidance on what is opening. That's why I said.
I think
Honorable Speaker, am I allowed?
you may not know that there's a crossover here, so not be worried. The boundary is there. Honorable Minister, Honorable Minister, hold up. Get the honorable minister to head inside and please. Well, I'm so happy that Curve 3 in the unifying force. Minister, order please, we have the Honorable Minister continue.
waiting kama robotics waiting.
A constitution is the speaker cannot hold government on 7 years and the next on the parliament. The bill provides for this purpose. In the same plain language, constitution for continuation in office of our superior judges in constitution amendment text of 2021. It does not hide the hide side, and it takes nothing from the bill's content, which this bill does not touch. I will now tell Mr. Speaker why 7 years. Because it is not an arbitrary number, but a tested government architecture. First, in 1990, Mr. Speaker, in 2008, the term length of the president was 6 years. Not much different from 7 years. In September 2025, Guinea adopted a new constitution with a 7-year electoral cycle. France operated a 7-year presidential term for the better part of 127 years. Ireland has elected its president to a 7-year term since 1937. A 5-year cycle, properly counted, yields at best 2 years of genuine uninterrupted government. The first consumed by transition, the last by the next campaign. 7 years gives the government time to see a major program through from design to delivery and to be judged not on what is promised, but on what is built. Mr. Speaker, consider what that time makes possible. Time to plan beyond the next ballot, so that the budget saves a decade, not a season. Time to build the roads, strength, power that developing nation cannot compete in the gap between two campaigns. Time to carry a program started Vision 2030 through to completion. Time in the end simply to come. Mr. Speaker said, I now turn to the administrative electoral ecosystem that is clauses 2, 11, 4, 8, and 17. Mr. Speaker said, this next section of clauses contains institutions that surround or support our nation. Clause 2 retains the registration of voters and the keeping of the voters' vote to the Registrar General, the office that already holds the record of every citizen's life from birth to death. This is not a modality, and it is not a partisan measure. I want to say so plainly, Mr. Speaker, and I want to give this honorable House the proof, because it answers directly the charge that this bill concentrates the running of elections in the head of the executive. The proposal, Mr. Speaker, to return voter registration to the Registrar General did not originate with this government. It first came from the opposition bench of this House. On 18 May 2020, in the 9th Parliament, during the committee stage of the electoral amendment bill, the Honorable Charlton Reddy moved to precise. He was supported, Mr. Speaker, strongly and on the record by the Honorable David and the Honorable Alan Macam, who pointed out that the Registrar General had already registered well over 1 million citizens and that everything the commission was doing in this field, the Registrar General was already doing. It is recorded in the answer of that day, a public document, and any honorable member and any member of the press or the public following this proceedings may check it for themselves. And I told them that, and I told them, then what I tell this honorable house now, I agree with them. There is no need and the Registrar General as the keeper of the nation's civil records is the national registrar of waters. The function was placed with the commission in the first instance, not on any principle of electoral independence, but one of the trust of one official, just one individual. Mr. Tobayo, it is dead. In moving it, we threw the child with the bathwater. And considerable and continual process, for the commission cannot so much